In glycolysis, we begin with a molecule of glucose made up of 6 carbon atoms. Glycolysis is essentially known as the breakdown of a sugar molecule. To give a comparison, think of a molecule as a family of 6 going on vacation. We need to break the family apart temporarily. To break this molecule down, we will use 2 ATP to split it into 2 groups of 3 carbon atoms, or you could think of it as the family split into 2 groups of 3. These ATP are represented on the ends of the carbon atoms. For vacation, each group of 3 brings a bag of luggage, which in this case is represented as ATP. They are going to the airport, and the airport allows for a carry-on per each group of 3, represented as the other phosphate, attached to each group of 3 in the diagram. Now the family needs to call 2 Ubers. The Uber in this case is NAD+. The family calls the Ubers, and the driver requests that to put their luggage in the car, they must convert it to ADP. The 2 Ubers arrive. Let's reference empty Ubers as NAD+. Once the family puts their luggage in both cars, the cars are full. The Uber becomes NADH, which is a full car. Just remember, NAD+ means the car is empty, and NADH means the car is full. They pay the drivers prior to heading to the airport, and when they pay for the trip, their luggage, the ADP, is converted back to ATP. So overall, we have 4 ATP, 4 bags, 2 luggage, 2 carry-on. However, we use 2 ATP at the beginning to produce 2 ATP, so overall, we created a net of 2 ATP. In glycolysis, we begin with 1 molecule of glucose, 2 ATP, and 2 NAD+. We output 2 pyruvates, which are a 3-carbon atom molecule, or you can refer to it as 3 family members. We also end with 2 net ATP, and we conclude with 2 full cars known as NADH. Before the citric acid cycle, we must make acetyl-CoA. Once the cars are full, they head towards the airport, where in our case is the mitochondria. To enter the airport, the family must go through security. There are 2 security checkers, and the family of 6 will walk through them. They split into 2 groups of 3 and walk through the checkers. 2 from each group are cleared to proceed to the terminals, which in our case is the citric acid cycle. By being cleared, each group of 2 gets the CoA enzyme to carry into the terminal. The CoA enzyme is like their admission ticket to proceed further. The other 2 who weren't cleared have to go through a full body check to be completely cleared to proceed. Once they are cleared, they decide instead of heading to the terminals where the food court is, they head straight to their flight and tell the rest of the family they will meet them there. In this case, where the flight is going to be where our electron transport chain begins. So overall, we input 2 pyruvates, 2 CoA enzymes, and 2 empty electron carrier cars, NAD+. We output 2 acetyl-CoA, and in addition, we output 2 CO2, in which this case, with the analogy, are the 2 family members, the carbon atoms, that had to be cleared a second time. And lastly, we output 2 full electron carrier cars, NADH. For the citric acid cycle, you mainly have to focus on the inputs and outputs. The citric acid cycle is where the 4 family members enter the terminals, which in this case, the 2 members is considered acetic acid. This cycle happens twice, which is why we get 2 acetic acid entering, which accounts for the 4 carbon atoms, the 4 family members. We output 4 CO2, and a way to think of it is as the 2 family members who had to be cleared a second time in security want to rush to their plane, which is why they're outputting to the next stage, which is the electron transport. On the diagram, we see ADP plus P. That combination is used to form ATP. And since this cycle happens twice, we produce 2 ATP. We will have 6 empty electron carrier cars, NAD+, enter the cycle. These are needed to transport the luggage to the plane if you want to think of it that way. We output 6 NADH once all these cars are full for transport. Lastly, FAD is our backup electron carrier car. We will input 2 empty FAD cars and output 2 FADH squared. Now I'm going to show you guys a mini clip from Charlie Brown that will help you guys understand how the electron transport chain works.
Charlie Brown, oh Charlie Brown.
I can't believe it. She must think I'm the most stupid person alive.
Come on, Charlie Brown. I'll hold the ball and you kick it.
Hold it? Ha! You'll pull it away and I'll land flat on my back and kill myself.
But Charlie Brown, it's Thanksgiving.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, one of the greatest traditions we have is the Thanksgiving Day football game. And the biggest, most important tradition of all is the kicking off of the football.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Come on, Charlie Brown. It's a big honor for you.
Well, if it's that important, a person should never turn down a big honor. Maybe I should do it. Besides, she wouldn't try to trick me on a traditional holiday. This time I'm gonna kick that football clear to the moon!
So basically what happens in our electron transport chain, we start with NADH, which is our full electron carrier car, and it's going to empty our luggage, which if you want to think of it as our protein in this inner mitochondrial membrane, the protein complexes, we empty it here. And so then once it empties, it becomes a empty car. And so I want you guys to think of the protein or the luggage that we emptied as our football from the video, and think of the H pluses as the Charlie Brown. So Charlie Brown goes to kick the football, but before he gets there, it bounces to the next protein complex. So Charlie Brown runs all the way through to the other side. It's like a concentration gradient going from high to low, so it's trying to balance the both sides. Then we get to the next complex, and we have FADH2, which is going to be a full backup carrier car. I think of it as our second form of transportation, which is our plane. So once our plane empties, it's going to be FAD, and so Charlie Brown goes to kick the football, but the football bounces to the next one before he could get to it, and he runs all the way through. At the last one, the same thing happens. Charlie Brown goes to kick it, but before he gets to it, it bounces to our final destination where oxygen accepts it. To create our waste product of H2O, some of the hydrogens from this side will combine with the O2 to create H2O. For the ATP synthase, how I like to think of it as a grocery store aisle. One side's going to have ADP and the other side's going to have P. And a bunch of these Charlie Browns are going to walk through here and grab one from each side and come out and form ATP, putting them together. I like this diagram a lot because it helps show how many ATP is created to get our 32 ATP from one glucose molecule. So in glycolysis, we had 4 ATP in the end, but we only produced 2 since we started with 2. In acetyl-CoA formation, we do not produce any ATP. For the citric acid cycle, we produce 2 ATP since the cycle happens twice. And in the electron transport chain, we create about 28 ATP. And so overall, one glucose molecule, which is the family of 6, that's a 6-carbon molecule. That family of 6, the glucose molecule, forms about 32 ATP. And the acetyl-CoA The citric acid cycle and the electron transport chain all happen in the mitochondria, and the glycolysis happens in the cytoplasm.